With the disappearance of the Mad twin brothers, a trio of brothers took over. They nestled themselves into the heart of England and took over the city of London. And today, we'll be uncovering the secrets of this city and how a poor family grew to be a multi-million crime syndicate. This is the story of the Clerkenwell crime syndicate. Without the enactment of a ban on alcohol and England being more developed at the time, the members of the Italian Mafia saw more prospects and opportunities in the United States. Hence, England was never dominated by the Italian Mafia, but this didn't mean that it was free from organized crime, as gangs more native to the land spread their roots, and this gave birth to the Addams family. The birth of a syndicate. Born to an Irish family of 11 children in 1954, Terence "Terry" Addams and his siblings didn't have much growing up. And with the stagflation of the 1970s caused by the explosion of oil prices that became more linked to the economy than ever before, the economy took a huge blow. The rising unemployment wasn't helping either, so Terry took matters into his own hands. While in his mid-20s, he saw great potential in harnessing the power of the underworld for his family. Hence, he collided with his two younger brothers, Thomas "Tommy" Addams, born 1958, and Patrick "Patsy" Addams, born in 1956. By this time, Patrick was not a stranger to the world of crime, as he had made a name for himself in London's underworld, known for pulling off gangland murders using high-speed motorcycles. Over a span of just 3 years, he was linked to at least 25 organized crime-related deaths, and in the 1970s, he was sentenced to 7 years behind bars for an armed robbery. After he started working with his brothers in the 1980s, he became in charge of the assassination section, which included the 1991 attempted murder of Mad Frankie Frazier. After the attempt fell through, he attacked Frazier's son David during a drug deal, slicing off part of his ear with a knife. If you made it this far, how about you consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video? It really helps us out and allows us to keep bringing you high-quality content about the Mafia world. Thanks, we appreciate you. The Men Behind the Syndicate. Run by three brothers, Terry, Tommy, and Patsy, the Clerkenwell crime syndicate were able to grow into an organization that rattled the United Kingdom, all from their founding location in Islington, London. While Patsy was more showy of the trio, Terry and Tommy loved to keep a lower profile. The first Atom. Terry, for one, maintained a refined persona, downing himself in high-end fabrics and indulging in his passion for art and antiques, all in an effort to appear legitimate. However, this did very little to fool the law. The MI5 and the Inland Revenue combined efforts after the Cold War to monitor the Addams family, and they started from the brains of the operation, Terry. They set up a covert bunker in Hertfordshire to monitor the operations of the syndicate, but after 18 months, they came to the conclusion that Terry was not actively involved in the crime scene. This was around 1990, and this operation only failed because Terry outsmarted them. Knowing he was being monitored, Terry staged his conversations multiple times to appear innocent. In one instance in 1998, he was reportedly caught on tape telling his advisor Solly Nahom that he wanted no part in a certain illegal deal as it would interfere with his legitimate business. However, his large fortune didn't match his annual submitted revenue. Hence, Inland Revenue demanded an explanation. They wanted a legit reason for his £2 million home and extravagant antique collection. In his defense, Terry argued that he was a major hustler who had various businesses such as a jeweler and public relations executive. But further investigation into his front companies and surveillance transcripts revealed these claims to be false. The government remained on his tail, and in April 2003, he couldn't evade anymore with his lies as detectives discovered a treasure trove in his home. £500,000 worth of art and antiques, £59,000 in cash, and jewelry valued at over £40,000. This led to his arrest and a court trial. The prosecutor in charge of the case saw through Terry's bluff and stated, It is suggested that Terry Adams was one of the country's most feared and revered organized criminals. He comes with a pedigree as one of a family who's had a currency all of its own in the underworld. A hallmark of his career was his ability to keep his evidential distance from any of the violence and other crimes from which he undoubtedly profited. After a bit of back and forth, Terry admitted in February 2007 that he was involved in a money laundering charge and was sentenced to 7 years in prison. A couple of months later, he was ordered to pay £4.8 million in legal fees to 3 law firms that initially represented him under the UK's Free Legal Aid Scheme, along with £800,000 in prosecution costs. He spent just 3 years in prison and was released in 2010, but was recalled in 2011 for breaching his license. After this incident, he was mandated to report his income for the next 10 years, with lingering rumors suggesting that further prosecutions tied to Operation Trinity might still surface. The breach in license included 8 breaches of his financial reporting order, which had been imposed in 2007, and in spite of the charges against him, Terry remained shrewd and calculating in an effort to not just cunningly escape the charges, but also frustrate the financial reporting order, even though he was fully aware that a significant confiscation order remained unpaid. Trailing the law behind him, he made a mockery of the High Court by claiming to be penniless and living in a modest 1-bedroom apartment. The court was tired of his games by this time and still ordered him to pay £650,000 under the Proceeds of Crime Act in 2014. Just 3 years later, he lost his appeal against an order to pay £700,000 under the same act. This time around, he was given the ultimatum of paying or facing 2.5 years in prison. In a dramatic turn, Terry found some spare change behind his cushion and managed to repay the entire confiscation order, amounting to roughly £725,000 in December 2017, despite repeated claims of poverty. He even tried to silence the media from reporting that he had paid the sum rather than serve more jail time. The Rogue Adam. Although Terry was mostly targeted for financial crimes, Patrick was more of a hard rogue who handled the bloodier business of the syndicate. After the assassination attempt he pulled on Frankie Frazier, he started a self-imposed exile in Spain. From there, he handled the operations of the syndicate, but his ways caught up with him when he and his wife were wanted in connection with an attempted murder that took place in London in 2013. They were arrested 2 years later, and though Patsy admitted to shooting Paul Tiernan, the case was dropped because Tiernan was unwilling to cooperate with the police as he hated them more than he hated Patsy. The last Adam. Tommy acts more like the financial mastermind for his brothers Terry and Patrick. And though he still maintains a home back at their base in London, he prefers residing with his family of 4 in Spain. Like his brothers, Tommy is also a target of the law. Not long after they joined forces in 1985, Tommy was charged with handling Brinksmat gold bullion, but was cleared of any involvement in laundering the proceeds during a high-profile Old Bailey trial alongside co-defendant Kenneth Noyle. Despite this, Tommy is still believed to have forged connections with various international crime organizations, including Yardie gangs, and secured an $80 million credit line from Colombian drug cartels. In 1998, Tommy was convicted of orchestrating an £8 million hashish smuggling operation into Britain, earning him a 7-year prison sentence. The court also imposed a £6 million criminal assets embargo, with a threat of an additional 5 years in prison if not paid. However, this embargo was later reduced to £1 million on appeal due to insufficient evidence and lack of traceable assets. His wife Andrula then paid the reduced amount in cash just 2 days before the CPS deadline. Tommy found himself in legal troubles again in 2017 when he was convicted of money laundering and sentenced to 7 years in prison after several large cash seizures were linked to him. Investigations revealed that criminal money collected in Manchester was funneled to Tommy through trusted associates. Operations. Although the crime family grew to be a crime syndicate, the brothers maintained an equal share of power and controlled various sections. The syndicate grew over the years, pulling in more members from their Irish family and close childhood friends. The gang is allegedly deeply involved in drug trafficking, extortion, gold bullion hijacking, racketeering, bribery, money laundering, arms trafficking, pimping, and security fraud. They've also been linked to 25 gangland murders targeting informants and rival criminals. Having ties with Metropolitan Police officials and other British officials, the syndicate has grown comfortable in committing a lot of atrocities. Although convicted multiple times, the brothers never placed a pause on their operations and continuing ordering crimes from within the cells of the prison. Still ruling strong in London and England at large, the syndicate continues to flourish. Do you think the Addams family is prone to be overthrown by another gang in London? Let us know in the comments below, and for more dark stories of the underworld, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell to never miss an update.